Primordial Spirit Guide, Success, a Storm is Brewing. Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 147 based on novel. So let's start. On the side, Def raised his eyebrows and said, "That's because you got sliced apart by others too many times and he had many chances to train." Cripple was furious, but Qin Mu was carrying him to soak in the medicinal concoction. Pa, old man's words carry no harm. Go knock on wood, knock on wood. While the two of them squabbled, Qin Mu carried a jade dragon bowl to find Blind. "Grandpa Blind, which of these divine eyes are yours?" There were over 10 eyeballs in the bowl, and every one of them was a divine eye collected by Qin. If they weren't activated, he couldn't see which two of them had 9 heavens hidden inside of them. The eyeballs were all similar from the outside. Blind stretched his hand out to touch and picked out 2 eyeballs. He frowned and said, "It's been a long time since my eyes had been dug out, and the wounds have already healed completely. Is there still hope to reattach my eyes?" Qin Mu threw the other eyes back into the true dragon's nest with the jade dragon bowl, before examining Blind's eyes in detail. He looked at them seriously. Blind's expression was calm as he smiled. "It's okay if you can't reattach them. I'm already used to being like this. I can reattach them, but some of the nerves in the eyes have already withered. I need to nurse the eyes for a few days first. Then I might just be able to use medicine to revive the activity of those nerves." Qin Mu raised his head and smiled. "Grandpa Blind, don't worry, even though my medical expertise isn't as good as that of Grandpa Apothecary, I'm still number 2 in the world after all." He pondered over the matter for a moment, then prepared herbs to refine medicine for Blind. The structure of the nerves in the eyes was even more complicated than in the heart. On top of that, the degree of delicateness was equivalent to the brain, so Qin Mu had no choice but to be careful in carrying things out. He made sure that all the herbs were pure and there wouldn't be any side effects. He used all he knew to ensure that the medicinal energy would be gentle yet able to activate the nerves. It was one of the greatest tests for him. Qin Mu prepared numerous methods to increase the activity of the nerves in the eyes. Other than what could be consumed orally and applied externally, he even made a small machine, which contained a medicinal concoction. It was able to automatically heat up the medicine into steam to nourish Blind's eye sockets. Other than that, a medicinal concoction, which was refined over and over again, was injected into the half-dead muscles of Blind's eyes using a hollow silver needle. This could be said to be applying all the methods together. After several days of nursing, Blind felt his eye sockets burning, and there seemed to be many fine tentacles growing out in them. Only then did Qin Mu made his move to reconnect the nerves of the eyes for him. He used ribbons to wrap some crushed spirit pills around his head, covering his eyes. "Grandpa Blind, after the muscles and nerves are completely healed, you can take off the ribbon," Qin Mu instructed, then summoned a tree demon over, reminding him to change medicine for Blind on time. That tree demon nodded repeatedly, and just rooted himself in front of Blind to wait for the time to change medicine. Qin Mu let out a sigh of relief and checked on the dragon's nest. He thought to himself, "If I put all of the body parts from Qin together, I can also piece a body of a god. It's a pity I don't know what weird technique Qin has cultivated. He had definitely kept some body part of his own, or his primordial spirit, otherwise, he wouldn't still be alive. Strange, which part of his body has he kept?" When he was fighting with Qin, he had changed his head, so his brain had naturally been changed as well. His divine blood, heart, and legs had all changed as well. What was even more terrifying was that he had different primordial spirits, and he could change them. When he was fighting with Yu Zhaoqing, he used his primordial spirits, using different ones to attack and injure her severely. Yet there had to be a part of his original body remaining, something which wasn't changed. All the other parts could be given up, but not that one. It was the gate to his vitality. Only by eradicating it could he be killed. All his body parts were replaced, but his soul definitely can't be replaced. Qin Mu's eyes lit up, and he found Granny Sai to talk about it, since her study on souls was much more profound than his. Soul is separated into souls and spirits. The souls are the heaven soul at the heart of the brows, the earth soul at the tailbone and the life soul at the navel. The 7 spirits are the canine corpse at the top of the head, the concealed sparrow at the ajna, the yin of sparrow at the laryngeal prominence, the seizing thief at the heart, the not toxic at the navel, the remove filth at the perineum, and the smelly lung at the lungs. According to logic, changing these parts would mean that his soul wouldn't be complete, yet he clearly had a complete soul. Qin Mu racked his brains. According to Granny Sai's deduction, Xing'an's head, dantian, backbone, neck, lungs, heart, and intestines had to be preserved, or he would need his soul to live in the body he had seized. However, when blind and the rest destroyed Xing'an's heart, squashed his head, and even made his backbone slid out of his body, Xing'an's soul didn't receive any heavy injuries, and could still repair his body. This means that the head, dantian, backbone, neck, lungs, heart, and intestines of Xing'an's original body are still around. His soul is still in his original body, and would only live in the body he had seized when necessary. In that case, his original body parts should be hidden in. He and Granny Sai looked each other in the eyes and blinked. Xing'an's chest. The original body should be hidden in the chest. Butcher had split it open, but the original body might have escaped the damage. He still has a weakness. Qin Mu composed himself. Even if Grandpa Butcher can't kill him, as long as he still carries a chest the next time he appears, it will confirm my guess. Granny Sai nodded. As long as he shows up with the chest, it means his original body is hidden inside, and he isn't invincible. Killing him then will be much easier. In the manor, cauldrons were raised and each one had a deer demon guarding it, and adding wood to the fire continuously. Within them, experts were being cooked, and a medicinal smell wafted out. Besides the cauldrons, there were also huge steamers in which experts were put to be steamed. Qin Mu patrolled around them and checked on the medicinal concoctions, changing the herbs a few times and applying needles to the experts, whose divine treasures had been damaged. The hollow silver needles directed steam into their bodies. Emperor Yanfeng's body was covered in silver needles while he looked at Qin Mu with a black face. He was pressed down into the steamer by the youth, but then sat upright again to continue glaring. Qin Mu smiled and said, "Does your Majesty have anything to say?" Emperor Yanfeng's expression suddenly changed, and he said with a pleasant face, "Minister Qin has worked hard and his merits are high. Do you want a promotion?" Qin Mu was puzzled as Emperor Yanfeng's expression became even more pleasant. "You are still on the 5th rank now, but you have contributed so much, improved our flying ships, crafted True Origin Cannon and Sunshot Divine Cannon, followed the Crown Prince to open irrigation works and transportation, and even saved me numerous times from danger. This time, you even brought Heavenly Feather Clansmen over. Your contributions are just too great, to the point I don't even know how to reward you. Tell me, what do you want?" Qin Mu scratched his head, racking his brain. "Your Majesty, the amount of money required for all the herbs, which are needed to heal everyone is quite high. I also spent quite a sum to buy cauldrons, steamers, and silver needles. All that money was paid in advance by me, so can your Majesty?" Emperor Yanfeng's face instantly turned black. "This is not considered a reward, Ministry of Finance has the money for it. The reward I want to give you is something Ministry of Finance can't give. What do you want?" Qin Mu thought about it for a moment. Money. He never lacked money. Official position. He didn't really have an interest in that. Fame. Heavenly Devil Cult Master was known throughout the land, so what fame did he need? Treasure. He had seized many treasures, and even plundered dragon-rearing sovereigns' pouches. Hulinger even got him 100 treasures from Roland's golden palace. He also had Carefree Sword and his sword pellet, so he didn't lack treasures as well. Precious herbs and materials, spirit pills, or miraculous medicines. He didn't need that as well, because he was a divine physician himself. Qin Mu shook his head, and finally understood how Imperial Preceptor felt. The things that the Emperor could reward him with didn't catch his eyes, so he didn't want any reward. Think again. Emperor Yang Feng slowly guided him. There's definitely something you want that I possess. It doesn't have to be an item or an official position, but can also be a person. Qin Mu came to realization and smiled with understanding. So your Majesty is thinking of granting me some palace maids. I wander around most of the year, so I don't need any palace maids to serve me. However, Granny stays here, and there are just demons and monster who are all ugly around here. If your Majesty can grant me some palace maids to tidy up the manor, I will definitely not reject. 2 girls like Jian Qi and Qin Qi beside Empress Dowager would be just fine. They aren't bad-looking and are also gentle and understanding. Emperor Yang Feng was furious and lay down in the steamer. Scram. As you command. Qin Mu closed the steamer while muttering under his breath, acting all generous, saying he wants to reward me, and then he can't even bear to spare some palace maids. What miser? What did you say? Say it once more. Emperor Yang Feng, who was in the steamer, was furious. Off with your head. Emperor Yang Feng then heard Qin Mu complaining outside. Yuxiu, you came at the right time. Your father said he wanted to reward me, then he didn't want to reward me, and now he even wants my head. Why are you paying attention to him? He has been quite agitated these few years, wanting to off with this head, and that head all the time. It's all from the stress of politics. In the end, even though he had said to off many heads, he actually didn't really kill many people. Ignore him, and he will calm down after creating a ruckus. Did you find me for dual cultivation? That's right. Our technique is almost complete, but delayed it to come and treat everyone's injuries. We need to hurry and beat the metal while it's hot. Otherwise, once father's injuries are healed and he decides to bring me back to the capital, I don't know when the technique will be completed. The 2 of them walked away, and Emperor Yang Feng, who was in the steamer, was disappointed as he thought to himself. Xiao, father can only help you this much. That brat is too dense, so you can only rely on yourself. After a couple of days working on it, Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu finished tidying up the complete technique of 6 directions primordial spirit. They were slightly anxious, as they didn't know if that technique would really allow others to cultivate their primordial spirit on 6 directions realm. Let me try. I'm on 6 directions realm. Sai Yunxiang said excitedly. Qin Mu shook his head. This technique is actually 2 techniques used as a set. It's separated into male and female, which have some slight differences. Because of that, 2 people must cultivate it together, and they can't be on guard against each other. They also can't have crooked thoughts, or they won't be able to cultivate their primordial spirits. But once it succeeds, both of them will succeed together. Cult Master, train with me, Sai Yunxiang said in a hurry. Qin Mu's voice became more serious. Saintess, we need to be so intimate that nothing can come between us. We need to share mutual trust, and have no crooked thoughts. Sai Yunxiang giggled and said, You're the cult master, how can I harbor any crooked thoughts about you? Qin Mu rolled his eyes. No crooked thoughts. That little woman saw Granny Sai as an example, always thinking of how to replace the cult master without learning any of Granny Sai's good points. However, Sai Yinxiang still had a side that was similar to that of Granny Sai, and that was whenever they met danger, she was always the first one to jump in and save people without hesitation. This showed that her nature wasn't bad, she just lacked a good upbringing. If she'd had such an excellent upbringing as I did, she wouldn't have ended up walking a crooked path. Qin Mu sighed ruefully. Sai Yinxiang might have crooked thoughts, but he needed to confirm the technique that he and the princess had created worked. He nodded and said, "I can't do anything if you have crooked thoughts. I will believe you once, but only once. If it doesn't work, you can find another person you can trust." Sai Yinxiang rushed excitedly to Ling Yuxiu and asked for the technique for women. Ling Yuxiu taught her without holding back. Yang Jingjing also came over, and Ling Yuxiu smiled. "Sister Jing, do you want to cultivate your primordial spirit with the one who herds cows?" Yang Jingjing shook her head. "I had cultivated my primordial spirit long ago. You too can cultivate, I will just look. Primordial spirit dual cultivation is very comfortable," Ling Yuxiu said seriously. Yang Jingjing's heart was moved, but she was also slightly embarrassed. Sai Yinxiang then asked curiously, "Jingjing, what's your cultivation now? How did you cultivate primordial spirit this early?" "It should be divine bridge realm," Yang Jingjing said in a soft voice with some embarrassment. "I did not cultivate it, however, it's from Sun Ship. I'm a body of pure yang, and because I had control of Sun Ship and borrowed its energy for many years, I used it to open all my divine treasures. When I parted from Sun Ship before, my divine treasures would close back, but after using it many times, the divine treasures no longer closed." Sai Yinxiang and Ling Yuxiu were stunned. Qin Mu also stared with eyes wide open, hardly able to believe it. Yang Jingjing's age was similar to theirs, but she was already an expert of the cult master level. They still couldn't see it earlier that Yang Jingjing was then the strongest among them. Qin Mu had also once driven Sun Ship and Moon Ship, but his divine treasures would close and seal up after he separated from the ships. Never would he have thought that after driving one numerous times, the divine treasures would remain open. In this case, does it mean that we can use Sun Ship to create a bunch of existences of the cult master level with Sun Ship? Sai Yinxiang suddenly suggested. Ling Yuxiu shook her head. "Impossible. One needs to be the body of pure yang to become the Sun Guardian. Sun-headed tribe can't even find a second body of pure yang, so what is there to talk about other places? Cult master can." Sai Yinxiang immediately looked at Qin Mu. "Cult master can control Sun Ship, and can most likely borrow the power of Sun Ship to open all his divine treasures in one go." Qin Mu's heart was pretty moved, but Yang Jingjing immediately said, "By borrowing Sun Ship to open divine treasures, it's easy for the realms to become unstable." Grandpa said this was an opportune shortcut, but it's not as solid as cultivating step by step. My trip this time is also to take a look at how you guys cultivate, and see if there's any remedy. Qin Mu could only give up on that idea. Cultivating step by step indeed contained more fun and surprises. If he hadn't done that, he would have never discovered the god transformations of 5 elements realm, or 6 directions primordial spirit. Yang Jingjing, who had opened up all her divine treasures with Sun Ship, might still have to cultivate from the beginning again, comprehending the meaning of every realm in detail to comprehend the marvel within them. Yet when the height one stood at was too high, it was hard to clearly see the bottom. Sai Yinxiang comprehended the female version of the technique, then asked Ling Yuxiu for guidance to make sure there were no problems with her cultivation of it. Only then did she start to cultivate her primordial spirit with Qin Mu. Far away, Blind said to Emperor Yangfeng with his eyes blindfolded, "Emperor, your daughter is pretty generous, giving your son-in-law away for Lassie Xiong to enjoy." Emperor Yang Feng snorted coldly. Xiao clearly doesn't understand the meaning of primordial spirit dual cultivation. She has no concept of that. If she knew primordial spirit dual cultivation could only be done between husband and wife, she wouldn't be that generous. You are going to tell her? Blind asked with interest. There's no need. Emperor Yang Feng shook his head. Only one couple can do primordial spirit dual cultivation. After their primordial spirits resonate with each other, there can't be a third person's primordial spirit resonating together. Minister Qin has already resonated with Xiao's primordial spirit, so even if Saintess Xiong cultivates with him, they won't be able to achieve resonation of primordial spirits, and she won't be able to cultivate her primordial spirit. They are all just kids, so they don't know the real stuff. He sighed. Since ancient times, the Emperor's Chamber of Imperial Concubines has had 3,000 beauties, but no one knows that the Emperor also has imperial troubles. Only the Empress can resonate her primordial spirit with the Emperor, so even if the Emperor goes to love his other concubines, they can't resonate together, and it's hard to ascend to extreme happiness. This is why there are not many people in the royal family. Blind smiled. When together with the other concubines, the pleasure isn't as great, so the younger generation of the royal family is lacking in numbers. Emperor Yang Feng nodded. That's why I'm not worried about Xiao at all. She has already taken the opportunity, so even if Minister Qin has other women, he will still return to her side. That is because he cannot resonate with other woe. My primordial spirit was cultivated. Sai Yinxiang's cheers suddenly rang out, and Emperor Yanfeng's eyes went blank as he listened to Sai Yinxiang frolicking around in joy. Ling Yuxiu was also overjoyed and celebrating with her, and so was Qin Mu. Emperor Yang Feng didn't come back to his senses even after a long while. You forgot that Mua is the overlord body. Primordial spirit of ordinary spirit body cannot resonate with others once they have a partner, but an overlord body can. Blind propped himself on his cane and said calmly, Emperor, I admire your expression very much, but I'm not a painter, otherwise, I would draw it and admire it whenever I'm free. I have painted it, Def said from nearby. The two old men chuckled, sounding very pleased with himself. Cult Master, Princess Xiao, what's the name of this technique that you two have founded? Sai Yinxiang asked. This kind of primordial spirit dual cultivation technique, let's call it Primordial Spirit Guide, Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu said in unison. Primordial Spirit Guide was devised by Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu by combining the theory of the most basic technique of Overlord Body 3 Elixir Body. Its basis rested in Daoyin technique, who was used to guide the vital qi. Meanwhile, Primordial Spirit Guide guided one's spirit embryo to mix with another person's soul before flying out of their bodies. The soul and spirit would then swap back, taking the chance to merge into primordial spirit. Therefore, the technique needed to have a guide word in its name. The reason why Qin Mu's primordial spirit could resonate with Sai Yinxiang's primordial spirit was because of his spirit embryo. It had no attributes, which was unlike the spirit bodies of Sai Yinxiang and Ling Yuxiu, who had their own attributes. The resonance between spirit embryos came from primordial spirits fusing and producing a fixed frequency. Because everyone's attributes were different, there would be greater or lesser differences in everyone's primordial spirits, and the frequency would be different. A couple dual cultivating their primordial spirits would resonate together and coordinate to be on the same frequency, forming a unique one for themselves. When they dual cultivated with other people's primordial spirits, they wouldn't be able to achieve resonation of the primordial spirits, because they wouldn't be on the same frequency. Qin Mu's primordial spirit and spirit embryo coincidentally had no attributes of any spirit body, so it was like a white sheet of paper. When it dual cultivated with Ling Yuxiu, the frequency was Ling Yuxiu's frequency, and when he dual cultivated with Sai Yinxiang, it was Sai Yunxiang's frequency. Emperor Yangfeng had never experienced how weird Qin Mu's overlord body was, so he hadn't paid any mind to it, and thus didn't tell Ling Yuxiu about the taboo of the resonation of primordial spirits. Now he was full of regrets. Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu finished up the male and female techniques of primordial spirit guide, writing down the cultivation method and the method of replacing souls in detail. They were both very happy. Suddenly, they came to an indescribable comprehension. It not only concerned the Tao, but also their Tao heart. By experiencing the process of founding the technique together, their Tao heart took a leap, a one-time qualitative leap. It could be said to be sudden, but it actually wasn't sudden at all. Creation was the hardest. They had created a technique out of nothing and changed the cultivation system of 6 directions realm and after, pulling primordial spirit to 6 directions realm. This change far surpassed the 3 basic sword forms that Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had founded. It could even be said that if Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu could develop the marvel of 6 directions primordial spirit to the extreme, it was possible that this change could make people arrive at celestial being realm much earlier, fusing it with 7 stars realm and changing the 2 realms into one. Furthermore, this change would affect all the divine arts practitioners of the future generations. Spirit Embryo Realm and 5 Elements Realm were the realms of martial arts practitioners, the people who had yet to step into the door of divine arts. People on 6 Directions Realm could be called divine arts practitioners, and be considered to have officially stepped through the door of divine arts. After 6 Directions Realm, there were 7 stars, celestial being, life and death, divine bridge. All of them were realms that divine arts practitioners had to stride forward step by step to the realm of gods in the legends. The 4 realms were 4 steps, but each one was much harder than the previous, so taking each step took an extremely long time. What Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu had founded could possibly change 4 steps into 3 steps, allowing divine arts practitioners to reach the God realm in an even shorter time. This was a huge achievement and a great virtue to take part in creating such a technique. The world had no roads, so where many people walked, there would show up a road. The change in the cultivation system could cause the paths, skills, and divine arts to change. The great Tao of heaven and earth would also change according to it. The huge change Primordial Spirit Guide would bring was something the 2 youths did not expect. Founding a technique was difficult, so they had to comprehend a lot of matters. Their Tao heart topped those of great masters, and both of them sunk into their own comprehensions. The moment Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor founded the 3 basic sword forms, was also the moment he became a great master. His frame of mind had also risen from technique to the realm of skill. What Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu were experiencing was the same kind of change. They could be considered to have completed Primordial Spirit Guide, but how to strengthen their primordial spirits on 6 Directions Realm was still a blank area to be explored. Strengthening their primordial spirit by cultivating was actually a matter of 7 Stars Realm. No technique on 6 Directions Realm had a method to strengthen the primordial spirit, which meant that as the founders, they could be a step ahead of others in comprehending cultivation techniques of 6 Directions Realm, creating even more things. Emperor. Blind suddenly kicked Emperor Yanfeng's thigh, not looking like he was joking. He said with a solemn face, "Do you feel a change in the heaven and earth?" Emperor Yangfeng wanted to blow up, but was too stunned by the words. He said in astonishment, "There's indeed an indiscernible change, so strange. Deaf, cripple, wake up, carefully sense the great Tao of heaven and earth." Blind summoned deaf and cripple over, and the 2 old men also felt an indiscernible motion, as though the spring rain was joining with the wind into the night. The action was mild and slow. What happened? Deaf asked in astonishment. When Mua and Princess Xiao founded Primordial Spirit Guide, this change happened. How bizarre, Blind said. Sense carefully, the great Tao of heaven and earth seem to be undergoing a marvelous change somewhere. This throbbing is very faint, but it can't escape my Tao heart. No matter if it was cripple, deaf, or even Emperor Yangfeng, they were all great masters. Cripple had comprehended the marvel of divine legs by himself to push his speed to the realm of God. What he used was the technique he had founded, so his Tao heart was also extremely strong. Deaf had pushed his painting path to the extreme, transcending to the level of God and saint. Emperor Yangfeng, in the meantime, relied on the not-so-outstanding 9 Dragons monarch technique to develop it to the highest level in one go, making it become on par with the ultimate arts of the 3 big sacred grounds. Furthermore, 9 Dragons monarch technique he had relied on was merely a few primitive dragon writings on the emperor's disc. The other people in the manor, even if it were experts like Granny Sai, Yu Zhaoqing, and Empress Dowager, hadn't reached that frame of mind of a great master, thus they naturally couldn't sense the throbbing and indescribable change in the great Tao of heaven and earth. Your Majesty, your daughter's accomplishments in the future are going to surpass yours by far, Deaf suddenly said. Have you ever thought of making her the crown prince? Emperor Yangfeng was slightly stunned as he looked at Ling Yuxiu, who had sunk into an ineffable realm. Making Princess Xiu the crown prince. He did have that kind of thought at that moment. Have Yuxiu head to the border army to train for a period of time. There is still some rebel army left in the snow plains in the north which haven't yet been eradicated. Let her and Yuxia lead an army each. Emperor Yanfeng's heart calmed down. It wasn't that there had never been a crown princess before, but just that their numbers weren't as high as those of princes. After all, there were plenty of female divine arts practitioners, and some of the sects even had women as sect leaders. With that, it was easy to see that there could be empresses, it was just that they were in the minority. If Xiu could do better than Yushu. Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu woke up from their comprehensions. During them, they had comprehended numerous marvels about the primordial spirit, and it resulted in cultivation methods for it on 6 directions realm. Some could be written down for others to learn, while some could only be comprehended by oneself. They could be understood, but not taught with words. Xiu, my injuries are almost healed, so follow me back to the capital city, Emperor Yanfeng said. Ling Yuxiu acknowledged him, as her gaze landed on Qin Mu's body. The one who herds cows, are you going back to the capital with me? We can continue to dual cultivate there. Qin Mu hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. You go ahead first. I need to wait here for Grandpa Butcher to come back. I still have some stuff I need to ask him. He handed a complete version of the male technique of Primordial Spirit Guide to Ling Yuxiu and said, hand it to Imperial Preceptor, so he will promote it. Ling Yuxiu nodded, then hesitated for a moment. 9 Dragons monarch technique that you improved, can I teach it to my father? It was your Ling families to begin with, so just teach, Qin Mu said with a smile. Ling Yuxiu suddenly moved forward to give a peck on his cheek, and ran away like an alarmed sparrow. Emperor Yangfeng shook his head, and brought her to bid farewell to Empress Dowager. I didn't let the officials who followed me to come over, but had them stay at Overlord Prefecture. It's best for them to not know about all that happened in this manner. Mother, take care of yourself. Empress Dowager sighed and said solemnly, you have to take care of yourself as well. What you and Imperial Preceptor want to do won't end with simple death, so you have to be careful. Even though you have already grown up, I'm still worried about you. Emperor Yangfeng turned around to leave and Ling Yuxiu followed after him. Father, the one who herds cows taught me 9 Dragons monarch technique, which is different from what you taught me. I would like to teach it to Father. Does Father want to learn? Emperor Yangfeng laughed out loud and shook his head. Even though your little lover is overflowing with talent, and has extraordinary abilities, having accomplished an astonishing feat with you this time, which made even me feel ashamed for being inferior, it's not enough. When it comes to 9 Dragons Monarch technique, your little lover is way inferior. The technique he learned was still taught by me. Are you learning or not? Ling Yuxiu asked with anger in her voice. Okay, tell me about it. Ling Yuxiu told him about the 9 Dragons Monarch technique that Qin Mu had taught her, and Emperor Yanfeng's expression became more and more solemn. When she finished, his face was black as he asked coldly, "He taught it to you?" Ling Yuxiu could feel his overflowing murderous intent, and couldn't help shuddering. Father! Emperor's disc is on him. Emperor Yanfeng's face was filled with fury as he laughed from extreme anger. This is a technique comprehended from the Emperor's disc. The treasure of our Ling family was on your little lover all along. I shall now. He was about to fight his way back, when he suddenly stopped in his footsteps, and gazed at the snowy white manor. He stared blankly at it for a moment before shaking his head and saying to the flustered Ling Yuxiu, "Return to the capital. Emperor's disc is with him, so I'll go ask him for it." Father, don't be angry. Emperor Yanfeng shook his head. I have examined that piece of Emperor's disc for thousands of times, yet I never comprehend anything out of it. The ancestors of Ling family have also examined it countless times yet never found the marvel within it. The throne doesn't belong to Ling family due to that Emperor's disc. There's no need to completely fall out with Heavenly Saint cult. Ling Yuxiu sneaked a look at his face. Emperor Yanfeng looked calm, like water without any ripple. His true intentions were unknown. Xiu'er, never mention that Primordial Spirit Guide was founded by you and Minister Qin. This matter cannot be told to anyone, Emperor Yanfeng said solemnly. If you say it, I won't be able to protect you. Stunned, Ling Yuxiu still nodded silently. In the manor, Qin Mu went to check Blind's eyes. The injuries on Blind's legs had already healed, but his eyes were still wrapped with ribbons which had to be removed from time to change medicine. Mua, regarding that matter of founding Primordial Spirit Guide, don't say you've done it, Blind suddenly said. Everyone who saw it must keep their lips sealed, so no word would get out. Understood. Qin Mu was puzzled. Why? The ribbon was undone, and Blind gradually opened his eyes. They had no spirit, but slowly, their black pupils filled with divine light. Layers and layers of formation markings swirled in them, and incomparably deep 9 heavens took shape. Blind's voice was abnormally calm when he spoke next. The law has changed, the path has changed, and the heaven has also changed. The change of heaven will result in death. All the great masters in the world will sense a motion that's out of ordinary. A storm is brewing. This video will end here.